Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan.
Chris.
And Lee.
We don't have a race review to do this week.
For the first time in like 4
Ever.
weeks. Yeah.
Don't worry, we've got one next week and one the week after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we get a week off of doing a race review. We've got the preview to do, of course.
So, just one important question first. What the hell did everyone do with the weekend?
Watch the World Cup final, but we've already spoken about that on...
You've got to
other
pay
one.
to hear about that.
Yeah.
This was going to be something that was going to slip in news, but it fits with what we're talking about now.
Go.
Did we have down the fact that there was a meeting about Formula One where it was put forward that maybe cutting the calendar down would make the brand worth more money?
Now it's not confirmed that was said because it was
Yes.
Cyril Abiteboul that actually made the statement. So what was actually said was...
That was Kimmy and Cyril speaking
Yeah,
to
well.
each other.
You know when Cyril Abiteboul was Lotus Man and he wasn't quite at the top, and Kimmy was at Lotus, and Kimmy was at... How did they converse?
Telepathically. I think it was a complicated series of blinks.
Possibly.
What's code?
Yeah.
Amazing.
You know, the same ones that your missus does every time we come round and see her, and she always blinks, "Get me out of here" in Morse code at all of us. It's your own fault for having the video system set up in the cellar.
It's my own fault for taking the metal mask off her.
Shall we talk about Mercedes instead?
Let's do that.
Right, Alonso wasn't involved in... Oh, sorry. What's about it? The Mercedes big shake-up. Mark Ellis
Well.
is retiring from the middle of next year and taking a sabbatical. So
That's significant.
that leads me to think he's got a new
sabbatical.
He's got a new job lined up for 2020.
Possibly, but it's significant because Mark Ellis has been involved in every World Championship win since 2010. He was at Red Bull from 2010 to 2013, and he went to Mercedes in 2014.
So I'd like to congratulate Williams on their victory in the 2020 championship.
Yeah, maybe he's going elsewhere to another team. Although he's more of a background guy, Mark Ellis, isn't he? He's a sort of technical director, but
I mean, his official role was performance director.
performance director.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, what did he have to direct? Lewis, start winning. Okay. Keep winning. Oh, okay, you done.
Yeah, basically.
You would say that the team's performance has been quite good.
Yeah.
Since he's been there, yeah, excellent. And you'd say that Red Bull's performance in the 4 years that he was at Red Bull were pretty good as
quite
well.
good, yeah.
Yeah. Dominant almost.
So perhaps he's quite good at this direction thing.
Yeah. But anyway, he's leaving to take a sabbatical in the middle of next year, which sounds odd to me. It sounds almost like gardening leave.
Does sound like garden leave, doesn't it?
This is why I think he's got something lined up for
A pre-contract
yeah.
or something like
Oh,
that.
unless
yeah.
he's got saying that it might be gardening leave, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's going somewhere else, does it?
No, not always.
So
no.
he might have to do his gardening leave even though he's retiring.
Yeah, in the middle of next year, that could be his sabbatical. His sabbatical could be a whole year, but
Yeah.
he can't take 1 year out. He's got to take a year and a half out because of
Yeah.
how much he knows, or will know, by this time next year. And Aldo Costa is a name that we hear every now and again as well.
Yeah, currently director of engineering, but he's now going to be technical advisor.
He's still going to stay with the team, but he's going to advise from his home in Italy.
So does this mean we'll see him on next year's Petronas adverts that always seem to crop up when there's nothing else on the sport channel and they need to fill 5 minutes?
Maybe, but
I now know more about oil, petrol and lubricants than I ever did before, thanks to those constant running adverts.
well, there you go.
You
They're
were pretty up on your lubricants already, though, weren't you?
informative and educational.
But not that particular colour.
Or strawberry.
That was e-liquid, wasn't it?
I'm on chocolate fudge cake flavour tonight, anyway.
Oh dear.
Remember when people used to smoke cigarettes?
Yeah.
Where's the fun in that? I like my vape and I'm sticking with it. If any vape companies want to sponsor us, well, me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, sponsor Paul. Don't sponsor the rest of us, for God's sake.
Well, no, if you all get sponsored, then you'll just pass it all on to me and I'll...
Will we now? Anyway, we
Anyway.
were talking about the Mercedes
that
reshuffle.
much vape, you actually just sort of would combust be the right word? You just turn into like
Vaporize.
an
Yes,
ethereal,
evaporate, yeah.
ethereal figure that sort of floats around
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
and fudge flavour.
Yes, Darth Vapor. All right, I know it was Obi-Wan that said it, but come on.
Doesn't matter. Oh,
Well, that's all we've got time for tonight. We'll have, we'll have the Germany review next week. What else was I going to say? Yeah, John Owen is taking over the side of engineering from Aldo Costa.
Yeah.
Still under James Allison.
So James Allison is still the man to report to.
Yes.
Okay.
And the other one is Loic Serra, who,
Sounds French.
yeah, it could be Loic. It's spelled Loic. He's the chief vehicle
Could be from
dynamicist.
Dorset.
Could be Luke.
Like,
Yeah.
Currently chief vehicle dynamicist, and he is taking over from Mark Ellis. So they're going to have somebody from Dorset giving performance direction.
Endorse it.
Yes, wholeheartedly.
Highly recommend it. Anyway, moving on. Well, not moving on. We'll stick with it. Talk about Mercedes reshuffle. Is it really big news for Mercedes? I mean, they're not losing. All right, they're losing Mark Ellis. When I said that was significant because he's been involved in every championship since 2010. If Lewis was to win this year's title, or Valtteri was to win this year's title, then that would make it 9 years in a row that he's been involved in championship winning cars.
I mean, I guess it comes to the point with a team where they're going to need to evolve.
Yeah.
And this is the perfect opportunity for them to do it. They're in sort of 2/3 of the way into the most dominant period that they've had in the sport, and there's big changes coming in 2021, and they're just going to want people bedded in by the time the new regulations come in. So it gives everyone time to get into the new roles and work out exactly what needs to be done.
Spoiler alert,
Yeah.
the new regulations aren't coming. That can is being kicked.
Oh, no. I'm firmly of the belief that the new regulations are coming. It's just that they're not the ones that everyone's been
No,
told about and that
they're
we've been
not.
talking about for ages.
No, they'll be the same, it's almost the same
Slightly
regulations as
wider
next
wings.
year. Yeah, slightly wider wings.
Be watered down from what
Yeah.
we've expected.
And what will happen is...
MGUH, you're not going to be allowed to spell with capital letters, but it'll still do the same job.
Yeah.
Well,
and it'll be
actually-
bigger and more powerful than it is now.
What it'll be is...
Oh, somebody's going to strike it down.
If these new you shouldn't have gone back there. If these new regulations, next year, like get the cars running like nice and close, and we're getting some really good racing, that means in 2021 that'll all be thrown out the window, and then we're back to single file like dominance by one team.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that Mercedes are dominating 2018 so far.
No, it's a competitive year.
It's very competitive.
Ferrari
year.
and Mercedes are dominating. I'd say.
Yeah, Mercedes are still at the sharp end of things. So to me, it seems, does Mark Ellis is he taking this on a performance thing? Like, okay, well, now we're not the dominant team, and I've been the dominant, performance man for the last however many years. It's time for me to step away with my performance, my great run of championships intact, and just take a back seat. Or has he been coaxed to go somewhere else, as we were saying before, and
He'd be a
has to
brave
take
man, unless
has to take at least 6 months or a year off?
Yeah, maybe.
well, in theory, a sabbatical means he's actually doing work.
yeah.
So it could be that he's off doing postgraduate study or something like that, or writing a book. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's
Doing Formula One
off to
stuff.
Williams.
Yeah, he could, as you say, postgraduate course. He may be taking a course to better understand aerodynamics or something like that. Something that-
2021 rules.
Which would be
Yeah.
massively, massively handy if he went back to if he was going to Williams.
yeah, of course. Yeah, for many good reasons.
But I mean, I can see the logic behind Williams is fucked. Paddy Lowe's there. They've obviously got a lot of faith in Paddy, and I'd imagine he is the sort of driving force now behind that team. So if he can coax people that he's worked with
At Mercedes.
at Mercedes, then I could see a reason behind it. I mean, I suppose that's the other thing as well. Like, it's the same with. I mean, I know Mercedes is based in the UK because I've been there.
Have you?
Yeah,
What was it like?
it was really nice.
Was it?
I took a friend as well.
All right.
But it's amazing the family you run into in these places. But
That's next week.
I know they're based in England, but
Yeah.
I'd imagine that just because it's Mercedes, it involves like a lot of travel and not just Formula One, back and forth to Stuttgart and stuff. Whereas they're saying that what's your man from Ferrari? I forgot his fucking name. Went to Williams. Smedley.
Smedley.
Like Smedley went to Williams because he wanted to spend more time in the UK.
Yeah.
So I could see a reason why, if that was the same
Yeah.
for your man, why he'd move.
Well, much like Aldo Costa. Aldo Costa's 57, and I mean, it could be the case that Aldo Costa's just like, you know what? I've done the whole Formula One thing. I've been super successful. I'm happy to stay with the team in an advisory role, but don't want to spend every weekend at the factory and then be at the circuit all the time. I'll advise from my home in Italy because I want to spend time with my family.
Well, does he travel with them to the races?
Yeah, Aldo Costa's usually at the races.
See, I mean, that's why Pat Simmons and Patrick Fry, is it Patrick
Pat Fry, yeah.
Yeah. That's why they both jacked in Formula One, is because the grind of all the travel. I imagine when you get into your 50s and 60s, like constant long haul
Watch
flights.
it.
Paul, you've got another 2 weeks yet. It's fine.
Before you exit your 60s.
Yeah, but you're also not taking long haul flights every week to go, halfway around the world, different time zones.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I
gonna-
mean.
It's going to cock about with your internal.
But like-
I
clock
don't know.
and-
Every time I get on a plane to to come back to the Isle of Man, I've got to set my watch back 25 years.
Paul, you get jet lag from getting in a taxi.
I get fast taxis.
But I can understand.
That was good.
Like, I can understand why when you get to a certain age, a senior age, that you
It takes its toll.
yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
batter you a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same as, being a driver, you wouldn't expect a driver really to carry on much past, their early 40s. I mean, Schumacher did, what was it, 42 was he when he retired the second time?
Yeah.
He was starting to look too old to be in Formula One. He just didn't have the,
He went leathery.
You-
Got leathery. Grizzled.
and he's, it's, if that's what it does to the drivers in their early 40s, okay, all right, it's less physical being the man in the garage, but I mean, you're not going to be wanting to, for example, the guys who break down the kit and move it all.
Yeah.
You're not going to be wanting to do that when you're in your 50s, are you? 50s, 60s, breaking kit
No.
down, throwing really heavy stuff in the back of a truck and making sure it's all packed absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
Go to the next, literally 2 days later, you've just got off a long haul flight, do the same again, unpack it all, make sure it's all, but no. It doesn't matter what role.
Even the lows will get lower. Like,
Exactly.
You all of a sudden put all that work in, and you happen to work for Haas, and then you've got to put two cars back together at the end of the race. That'll start grating on you.
You mean Friday lunchtime?
Yes. Friday lunchtime, Saturday lunchtime,
Yeah. Sorry, by race I mean FP1.
just to watch your driver put it in the barrier before the grid.
No.
But no, it's big changes. The other thing, of course, at Mercedes is who is going to be driving the cars next year.
Bottas has been talking this weekend, which I think we may hear from Valtteri in a short while.
I think we probably will because I'll edit it in.
Yes, he's been saying that.
Or I already have edited it in.
Yes, that one.
Time breaking.
He's been saying that he believes, despite the fact that he's fifth in the championship, that he's been putting in the performances worthy of retaining his seat at Mercedes for next year. It's hard to argue with that at the moment.
It wasn't
his fifth.
It wasn't until Silverstone. I still stand by the fact I think Silverstone was a ropey race for him.
It may have been, but I mean, his fifth in the championship could be third, given the fact that he was probably 2 wins he should have had. And
I think somebody got very upset on Facebook messages, didn't they, about me, about my my
Bottas
thoughts
bashing.
on Bottas's race at Silverstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he couldn't hang with Vettel, and Lewis could have won that race.
Could have, but
Yeah.
didn't.
Well,
And
but Bottas should have been able to try and win it. But if Lewis could have won it,
maybe. But yeah, Bottas is quite confident that he's going to be in that Mercedes for next year. And I know we've talked silly season over the last few podcasts, but for me, it is really difficult to see if Bottas continues on this sort of, putting in pretty good performances as he has done so far in the first half of the season. All right, early season we said, but pre-season, Bottas is really going to have to improve to keep hold of his seat. And in my eyes, he has. He has improved enough.
yeah. Well, I think he needs to carry on. He needs to make Silverstone a blip.
Yeah.
Because that's the other, like.
Because he had a mid-season drop-off last year,
I
and if he
I've
does
been-
that again this year, that could be that could be very telling.
I think up until the Silverstone podcast, I've been pretty high on where like Bottas from since the beginning of the year. I
Yeah.
think I can't remember a driver that has improved like so much under so much pressure before. Usually people sort of crumble a bit, but I do wonder whether he's done enough to keep that drive in Mercedes' eyes, especially if. Because I read another article this week about like maybe Lewis leaving the sport at the end of the year and things like that, and like rumors going around that he might just decide to do a Rosberg and disappear. I don't believe that. I think he's going for Schumacher's championships. But
I don't think he's got the things to pull him out of the sport that Rosberg had. Rosberg had a family to go to, and that's.
Lewis has got a sick pair of Yeezys.
What's Lewis going to do? Go off and do a guest spot on another Christina Aguilera track?
Maybe.
We don't know if he's done one properly yet.
We don't.
There is some kind of non-disclosure agreement in place.
So we're not allowed to talk about that.
XNDA.
XNDA, which may or may not be Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. But he's not prepared to tell anyone.
So the non-disclosure agreement means we should stop talking about that right now.
And also...
We're not covered by it,
Yes.
but we should because it's not that interesting.
And are any of us actually Christina Aguilera fans?
I was when she did that, like the boxing ring video.
I was just about to say the dirty video doesn't count.
Tremendous.
Which had more R's in it than it should, so you have to say it in a Scottish accent.
Dirty.
Yeah.
I thought it was normally only murder that was said like that.
Murder.
I don't know, I was in a band with a Scottish drummer.
She did well because like she looks amazing again now, and for a while she did look like Vanessa Feltz. So credit.
Where were we? So, yeah, Bottas.
Yeah, who's going to be driving that Mercedes next year? I think Valtteri's done enough.
I think he'll be driving
So
it.
far, if he has that mid-season fall off, that's the only thing that could be quite telling as to who Mercedes want to put in the car for next year. And I think they'll leave it until quite late again before they announce who's going to be driving for them. We know they've offered Lewis a contract, and Lewis is taking his time mulling it over. The team are quite comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Lewis is his own manager now. With Valtteri, Mika Hakkinen was his manager. I don't know if he still is. But with Valtteri, I'm not sure if they've offered him a contract. I think we probably would have heard about it if they had. And I don't think Valtteri would be saying, well, I've clearly done enough to be, to have that seat for next year if he'd already been offered a contract, because that would be a bit silly. This is him fishing for Mercedes to do that to him.
Yeah.
I mean, as of yesterday, ESPN was saying that he feels that he's earned his drive for next
He's
year. with
going to
them.
say that though, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's not going to turn around in the interview and go, "Oh, it could go either way. It could go. I've been all right this year, but I was a bit shit last year."
The thing is, if he has that mid-season drop-off and he doesn't get back on it again until the flyaway races after the European season is finished,
Yeah.
I'm talking like back end of September, early October, which is when he started to pick up his performances again last season. That's too many drop points for Mercedes. They can't afford to drop these kind of points.
Is there
against...
a world where Mercedes, what would it be? Would it be another 2-year contract for Lewis? Wouldn't it? It's 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, because and I'm quoting Sean Kelly on this, with there being no Concord agreement in place, there isn't officially any Formula One
Yeah,
up to
yeah.
2020.
You said this last week. Yeah, I
so
forgot
there
that.
can only be contracts up to 2020 and then options for anything after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So every contract ends up with an option, doesn't it? So I bet it'll be a 2-year contract with an option of 2021, or it'll be an option on both sides.
Yeah.
So Mercedes go forward with the thinking Lewis is getting on. He's achieved so much. There's a big possibility, especially depending on which way the rules go in Formula One. Yeah, if all of a sudden I think if Formula One offers something to Lewis that he just wants no part of, that's when he might decide to go. So is there a world where Mercedes have to really start thinking about Formula One post 2020 and get George Russell in because he's like their most promising driver next year?
It depends if they can still leverage teams like Force India and Williams. If they can put their drivers in those teams,
Yeah.
they've got no real need to put them in the big boy Mercedes team straight away.
But are you not better? It depends how much faith. Because I think the one thing I've noticed from Mercedes with George Russell that I didn't see with Esteban Ocon, for instance, like he's in the garage every weekend.
Yeah.
Like Esteban, before he came into Formula One, was not stood next to Toto and Niki Lauda watching the Grand Prix every weekend.
No, because he was in the Renault garage doing that, and you didn't see as much of the Renault garage on TV because his first season as part of any Formula One program,
Yeah.
he was on loan from Mercedes to Renault
Yeah.
as their test driver. So you wouldn't see him in the Mercedes garage. You'd have been in the Renault garage, but they didn't put TV cameras in there because
He was jointly owned, wasn't he, at one point?
Yeah.
who wants? No, he was on loan.
He was just on loan.
Yeah, who wants to see what's going on in Renault when you've got the opportunity to see a very lively and very active Mercedes garage? Because
Yeah,
rightly
maybe.
or wrongly, Toto banging a table does make good TV.
No, but I think the only is there another team that I put there that have done it with a junior driver like McLaren and Mercedes are doing right now with their two junior drivers. They're almost at this point as recognisable as the race drivers.
I'd possibly say not quite as much, but you do see quite a bit of Jack Aitken with the Renault team.
Yeah,
in Renault team gear.
Unfortunately, then you see him racing. It gets quite disappointing from that point.
Sure, we want to get him on the show.
Stoffel Van Dorn was before he was a McLaren F1 driver. Was shown,
Yeah, Stoffel was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, he had a car that was done up like a McLaren.
Yeah.
And I think Pierre Gasly as well, because the Prema that year that he won the GP2
Yeah.
was done up like a Red Bull.
Yeah.
And he was in Red Bull gear, and you saw him around Red Bull,
but
but not quite,
not the same.
quite as much.
No.
Not quite as much.
But yeah, I still think that if
Don't forget, the Mercedes and McLaren are the two most media friendly teams allowing people into the garage.
yeah.
Red Bull always like to get coverage, but that's only ever Christian Horner, and that's
Yeah.
only ever from the pit wall. And you don't actually get to see what's going on in the garage itself.
The other thing to remember is that we're watching British TV, which does like to talk about the upcoming British drivers.
that's
Because it's
another
stuff that
good
opts
point.
out of the world feed when they're showing the British drivers with the British teams.
But would you not agree that if they decide not to retain Bottas, yeah, I think there must be a question about it. There's a possibility of him not keeping that drive because if they were, he's not got that much leverage. Do you know what I mean? He's basically all he can do is say, "I want 2 years." They can say, "We'll get back to you." He's got no cards to play with. It's not.
Yeah.
He's not walking in as Lewis Hamilton here, is he?
I think
There's other good options on the grid.
That's the thing.
Danny Rick, for example.
Yeah.
who would want 2 years. The thing is, though, if they're going to replace him with an established driver, any established driver will want 2 years up to the end of 2020.
Yeah.
If they don't believe he's going to be a good option for 2 years, they have to replace him with somebody young. But that would only probably be a 1 year deal as well if you put in somebody untested into the car, and then end of 2019 you're in exactly the same position if whoever they put in to replace him doesn't cut it.
Can I
Yeah.
throw a super curveball in here right now?
Yes.
Nico Rosberg comes back.
No, worse than that. Well, no, better than that, but more curveball than that.
Go on.
Kimi Raikkonen,
To Mercedes.
out of contract, end of the year. Might want to stay in Formula One. Mercedes go, You're pretty good at just being a number 2 driver, and you're always up there when we need them. More so than, let's say, if Valtteri does have an off mid-season again. More so than Valtteri Bottas, we only need you for the next 2 years, and then we're going to put George Russell in. Would you want to do your last 2 years in Mercedes?
I don't know, because this year Raikkonen is on
top
and looking good.
It doesn't necessarily mean he will be next
Yeah,
year.
last couple of years he's been
Inconsistent.
not always in the top 6.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I think he'd do pretty well in the Mercedes because he does like a car that's like glued.
Yeah.
So, but the way I'm looking at it is, I find it very hard to believe, looking at Formula One, that Esteban Ocon's going to get his way into a Mercedes. I think just looking at it, I don't see it. I think that especially if George goes and wins the GP2 this year, if he wins that, they need to try and get him in Formula One next year.
It really depends on any technical partnership that they might tie up with Williams or Force India as well. I can still see Mercedes, because at one point it looked like they were going to take Manor on, didn't it, as their sort of junior team, because they've been very public with the fact that they like the idea that Red Bull have got Toro Rosso as their junior team. Ferrari have now putting people through Red Bull put things through Sauber, and they've got Haas as well, that they, as a supplier, that they have put their drivers in for like FP1s and things as well. Mercedes don't really have that, and they have said, we can see the benefits of a technical partnership along those lines. With both Williams and Force India struggling financially, I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that Mercedes tie up one of those teams.
I think it'd be Force India.
I think it would be Force India.
I think it's more likely to be Force India because
they're cheap. They go there for sale.
Yeah, and Williams, you've got the whole Williams advanced engineering.
Yeah.
Would they want to give away part of that to Mercedes?
No, probably not. But the
I don't think Williams would want to sell to Mercedes because Williams are Williams.
Yeah. I think Williams would rather give up Mercedes engines than sell out to Mercedes, to be honest with you. But I think Force India would be the team that they would do a tie-up with, which would make sense. It would see them retain their Pink Panther sponsorship because they're Mercedes cars DTM that are sponsored by the same BWT company. So they wouldn't necessarily have to change an awful lot on track. Maybe a name change or something like that. But the familiarity could still be there. But Mercedes would have control of the team almost, and would have a say in which drivers went in. And I think Perez would lose his seat to George Russell in that respect for next year.
Right.
So I think Bottas has, at the moment, at current time of talking, Bottas is doing enough to
16th
retain.
of July, 10 o'clock.
Yeah. 16th of
PM.
July. Yeah, he's done enough to retain his seat at the moment, but that can change.
I think he's doing his best. He's doing his best to keep his seat. Is probably the best way to put it. Whether
Come back
that's
to me after
enough
Belgium.
or not. Yeah. The way we seem to be talking about Mercedes differently than we would talk about McLaren. Luckily enough, we can talk about McLaren a little bit.
Really? How have you shoehorned this one in, Lee?
Because
so, manhole covers.
whenever we talk, but whenever we talk about Lando going to McLaren, we always talk about him getting in, and McLaren will want to put him next to Fernando Alonso before Fernando Alonso retires. And if he can have a year there to try and learn from Fernando and get embedded in the team, it'll be better for McLaren. Why wouldn't that be the same for Mercedes? Why
Get
would
George Russell in, and then Lewis retires.
Next to Lewis Hamilton, arguably the best driver in Formula One at the minute, arguably the best British driver of all times.
Because Mercedes number 2 driver could win or lose them a championship.
Yep.
And Russell's an unknown quantity at the
Yeah.
moment, which is
Ma-
why they put
McLaren's-
Ocon straight into Force India rather than putting Ocon straight into a Mercedes, or Wehrlein straight into a Mercedes.
But unfortunately, if you get but Ocon is a unknown quantity.
No, I think they know how good Ocon.
He's too up and down to be a known quantity.
No, I think he's known, and I think he's perhaps not talked himself into a seat.
Yeah,
But it's difficult with the way that Force India is behaving this season. But he should be blowing Perez away.
he should do. He should have shut the door on him, locked it, and sat down watching Coronation Street.
He needs
right now.
to do to Perez what Leclerc is doing to Ericsson,
Yes,
and it's not happening.
Yeah, there's a world of difference, though. Perez is an F1 driver.
No, Ericsson.
Perez on
Tougher
his,
competition.
on his day is a much better driver than Ericsson.
Yeah, but Ericsson has stepped himself up, and he's looked like a reasonably decent driver, finishing ahead of Force Indias. So yeah, I don't think that's quite fair. But I think George is looking good for the GP2 championship right now.
So is Lando. Both of them are.
Yeah.
This leads us on actually to a message that we got from Rob Higgins on Twitter about half an hour ago.
Yeah.
What he said was, is making the F2 champion leave the championship damaging the sport?
Yes.
I think so because yeah, I mean, how
Yeah.
long could you leave them in F2? I like the rule, but I don't think that it's necessary to pull the champion out all the time.
I mean, he goes on to say, if there's no seat in F1, they can end up never having a chance. Should the driver last in the F1 standings be sent to F2 to make room?
I would love to see promotion and demotion for either drivers or teams,
Yeah, I'd love that.
or an FIA car where if you win the F2 championship, you're in F1.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed a seat. So that you've got a chance to prove yourself and sell yourself to teams and show that, yeah, you're not one of the drivers who's good in F2 but can't hack it in F1.
Even like, I don't know how you'd work it. Like if you said to one of the teams, if they wanted a wild card car, no, that doesn't score constructors points.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? There's been a mild discussion about 3-car teams or
Three and one
teams.
car teams, yeah.
Just to get the grid up to 26, which is
I've been
the current limit.
champion of 3-car teams for a while.
And 1-car teams, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind a privateer team entering and being like, we can only afford 1 car, and Formula 1 being like, grand. Crack on with your one.
The
crack on with your
only
single
issue
car.
with that is I could see a lot of slow entries into Formula 1. A lot of fucking Hesketh, entries.
Possibly, yeah.
You can't
Hesketh
say
won a race.
Can't say Hesketh because they won races. You're looking at the local drivers that only entered races in Japan and South Africa.
Yeah. I meant
those kind of teams.
I meant more the fact that Hesketh come in and then couldn't afford to be in Formula 1 and fell out, and then you
Well, that was Lord Hesketh.
yeah, but
That-
you
yeah, but
couldn't
that-
end up
that
with
was
a new
that was
car.
that was their own fault.
Oh yeah, I know that. but-
Because they said they didn't want to cheapen the car by putting sponsors on it.
Yeah.
And then they realised just how much money the sponsors actually bring in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was after they ran out of money
Yeah.
that they wanted the sponsorship when they'd started losing.
But we don't want a revolving door of 1-car teams that come in seconds off the pace.
No.
So, I mean, like it wouldn't happen, but there's no constructors championship in MotoGP, is there? I'm pretty sure there's no constructors championship in MotoGP.
Isn't it manufacturers?
Yeah, but I don't think there's a manufacturers championship.
It's not. I mean, it's not teams, is it? It's manufacturers. I thought with like Suzuki and all the Honda powered bikes, all the points go to Honda.
No, I don't think the teams get points. I think it's very much like when you talk about whoever wins a world championship, it's the Honda that have won the world championship because Marquez won the world championship.
No, there is a constructors
Oh, is
championship.
there? It's just not
yeah.
talked about very much.
Yeah, because there's only 6 entries.
Oh, it is. So it is
Yeah,
just the
it's
manufacturers.
It's the manufacturers because don't forget they've all got the satellite teams as well that use their
Yeah,
bikes.
so it's
That's what I was going.
so it's basically whichever manufacturer has the most bikes on the grid pretty much wins the constructors. So that's why it's not talked about.
No, it's whoever's got the best factory team.
Yeah,
It's Honda that's walking away with it this season.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean Honda
but Honda have
satellite.
got- I was
Honda,
just-
yeah,
they've got
Honda
more
satellite,
satellite
yeah,
teams.
yeah.
Yeah.
Honda satellite teams scoring points would go towards Honda,
Yeah, so that's why it's squiffed because they've got more soldiers.
which yeah.
Yeah, but would the idea be to, if you had single entries, to abandon the constructors championship?
That's a good question because you could end up because it would become unfair in the sporting terms.
Yeah,
because if a
a
private
1-car team was winning every week
Yeah,
and a 3-car team was coming second, third, and fourth,
yeah,
who's doing better?
exactly.
because
They've
you
built the
could have-
best. They've constructed the best car.
Yeah,
exactly,
You'd think they'd be
because-
some kind of champion for that.
because you'd have a privateer championship and maybe like a manufacturers championship or constructors championship. But who's to say
Kind of
that-
like the way that they did it in the first turbo era when there was a separate championship for non-turbo teams.
Yeah.
Which were mostly the privateer teams as well, because it was all the factory teams that had.
But you could have, as you were just saying then, Dan, like a one car team that just runs away with the whole season, like a Brawn sort of season.
Yeah.
One car team, but then you've got like 3 car Mercedes that are constantly finishing second, third, and fourth.
Yeah.
But picking up more points.
It would be a dead
because-
easy thing to spin as well, because all it would take is wording and just a different way to advertise it. So let's say Daniel Ricciardo wins the World Championship in Red Bull. You whenever you would see that, you would see Daniel Ricciardo and Red Bull 2018 World Champions. You just take the words out, you take drivers out, you take constructors out, and they are the world champions. I think that would be a pretty cool
cool
thing.
I mean, the point I was going to make there was if you have one car team winning like first and then 3 car team, like a Mercedes decide to add a third car, they got Hamilton, Bottas, and say George Russell next season in 3 cars, and they're constantly finishing second, third, and fourth. They're picking up more points in the car that wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would also negate, to a certain extent, team orders. Because the idea would be that you just want one of your drivers to win the world championship.
I think you'd still get
You'd still
team
get them
orders.
to. You'd still get them to within. Like Vettel would still be able to pass Raikkonen if he was getting some extra points on Hamilton.
Yeah.
But what it would mean is if you had, say, like 3 Mercedes up there and 3 Ferraris, there's that many cars going for it that they're just going to want wins. So I think that would.
How
be a
long
good
would
thing.
it be before the first team lined all 3 cars across the circuit and drove as slowly as they could with everyone behind them?
Race 1, Ferrari.
Ferrari at Monza, I
Yeah.
think we're
Lap
looking
1, turn 1. Are we back to past the disaster?
literally locked out the front row.
Yes.
We have had a suggestion as well for sort of restoring the pasta disaster, but with Roman Grosjean. Somebody suggested call it Grosjean's Gross Out. I didn't like that.
No, I don't like
We need
it.
a better name.
Will remain.
I'll come up with a name.
When will Roman goes off? Shall we have one of our patented jump cuts?
Let's have a jump cut and hear
Sorry,
from.
can't it be Roman returns to the gravel?
I like that. Let's have a patented jump cut.
We'll have one of our patented jump cuts because thank you very much to our friends at UK Motor Talk who were at Goodwood this weekend. We're now going to hear from Valtteri Bottas.
And here's what he had to say.
So we are sat in the Martini Drivers Club again here this afternoon, and we're sat with Valtteri Bottas, who has just come down fresh from the hill. We saw you do some incredible smoky burnouts, by the way, just before you were come in there. Very impressive. At one point we thought we were going to lose your car, actually. You just couldn't see anything other than the cloud, and then you sort of peered through it. So that's something out of a movie. You're the most recent in the long line of Flying Finns, and you're in good company. From rally to F1, we know that Finland produces some fantastic drivers. But what is it that really attracted you to driving in cars? Was it seeing these heroes out on stage, or was it something else entirely?
Yeah, for me, I tried a go-kart when I was 5 years old, first time. Immediately fell in love with the speed. I did my first race when I was 6, so really started from there. And it was nothing like I ever tried before that got me that excited. Was sitting in a race car, and immediately I knew that this is the sport I want to do. And for me, being a Formula 1 fan, following the drivers from our country like Häkkinen, Mika Salo, JJ Lehto in Formula 1 really motivated me to want to be there. So I think having those kind of heroes as a child, that made a big difference.
So far this season you've been quite unlucky in certain races. The general consensus in the paddock is really you could be leading the championship if things had gone your way. Is the frustration there?
Honestly, I have no frustration. For sure, after the difficult races, it's not a nice feeling, and takes a little bit of time to kind of to get 100% motivated and ready to fight again. But no frustration in general. I've been trying to perform better this year than last year, and I feel I managed to, in general, kind of raise my bar in my own performances this year. But things just haven't gone my way yet. I know it's already halfway, but there's the other half left, and it's still a long year ahead. But yeah, sometimes the things you can't affect. There's no point worrying about those too much.
And on factors sort of beyond your control, there's a lot being made of the Pirelli tyres this year, variations in the construction, the number of compounds and the hardness or the softness or the hyper hardness, ultra softness of the tyres that they bring. Are you happy with the tyres as they are, or would you prefer them to be slightly simplified and maybe a bit more robust so you can just drive flat out on them?
Well, I think as a racer, I think everyone thinks the same, that it would be so cool to go flat out all the time, qualifying laps from first lap to the last lap of the race. But we know it's not that great for overtaking, and by different strategies now it opens up many opportunities, and things can happen. Like for me in Silverstone, last 5 laps I ran out of tires and that was it. So it can either make you good in terms of results, or it can be your worst enemy, the tire deck. So it is a tricky one, but at least in the qualifying we can really push flat out, and the tires, they are actually quite grippy. But in the race, it's just how it is nowadays.
Current engine rules with the hybrid technology and the regenerative harvesting and bits and pieces like that, and how you need to manage all the systems on the car. Do you like that? Do you enjoy that? Or would you just rather have a thumping great V10 bolted in the back and 18,000 RPM and off you go?
Well, honestly, with the nowadays engine, I love the power. They're very powerful now. A lot of torque. The drivability is great, and everything is so smooth and nice. So that is cool. I am a bit of a petrol head myself, so I love the smell of petrol. I love the noise of V10 or 12. Again, things that I can't affect really is that for sure the hybrids, they are the future. One day maybe even electric, but for me, for sure every year now the sound is getting better and better. It's getting closer to what it used to be, but I don't think it's ever going to be the same with turbo engines. But if I could choose, V6 or V10 easily, but but they're not bad at all to drive now, so they're good fun.
So just overall, as long as it's got a bucket load of power, that's fine with you.
Indeed, exactly.
Perfect.
We've seen Niki Lauda's Ferrari going up the hill. He's famously direct and no nonsense. What does he like to work with?
He's very direct. He always says like he thinks, which is very good. He's always very honest, very open. But he's really a really good team player as well. Many after some difficult times, many times he's been, coming back to me and saying just the right words to kind of get me back up. So he's a great friend, legend in motor racing. So I think we are very lucky to have him in our team.
Do you think it does help that he's been there in championships, he's won and lost championships and raced himself? Do you think does that add credibility to the advice that he gives you then?
Definitely. He's been through all that. He's been racing all his life. He's been in so many different kind of situations through his career, so he's very experienced about everything. And always, whenever he talks anything about driving or life, I do listen carefully.
With the limitations in testing and the mileage and limits on engines and Friday practice and things like that, how important is simulator work to you personally? Do you find that helps you prepare for a Grand Prix weekend?
For me, simulators, they help in if there's a new track coming to the calendar, to learn the layout, because now they can be simulated like exactly all the bumps, everything like perfectly. So learning tracks is great. And normally before the season, we are doing some race simulations, so full race distances and having all kind of different issues during the race and practicing the communication again with the team, kind of just get back into it. But between the season, between races, for me it's a minimal advantage doing the simulator work, because we are every week or at least every second week in the car, and nothing just still beats the real car and the feeling. But before the season, winter time is a useful tool.
I guess with the cars so sensitive to the way they're set up as well, you feel the difference in the actual car that you don't get. So I guess through the seat of your pants, in a better way of putting it, from a simulator.
Indeed, it's like I said, just the real live, G-forces, vibrations, feeling the car behavior. It is difficult to simulate, but for sure the simulators, they are developing all the time, and and massively with a quick rate. So I think soon, I don't know when, in how many years, it will be difficult to separate real life or simulation life.
You think we'll get? I mean, we saw a couple of years ago Jan Mardenborough come from the Gran Turismo Academy and just playing online in his bedroom to racing at Le Mans, and obviously lots of F1 teams are getting into the esports side of things. Do you think someday soon there'll be a guy lined up alongside you on the grid who came from playing F1 in his bedroom to the grid that way rather than the traditional karting route?
Honestly, for sure, I think it's more difficult for sure coming from simulators, directly jumping into high-level racing, because it's I think motorsport in a very high level like Formula 1, it gets pretty physical, and nothing can train you than driving from quite young age. I think it's very special. Even though all the training we do, still every winter tested, and after the first 2 days we are completely destroyed. So I think the physical effects and also the kind of handling the speed and situations when you are not anymore in the simulation life, that's the only limitation.
There's no reset button in real life, of course.
Exactly, yeah.
You live in Monaco, I understand, and I'm always fascinated by what it is that F1 drivers drive day to day. Do you feel that you need to have a fast car, or do you drive around in, I don't know, like a Fiat Punto or something?
Honestly, Monaco is not really the best place for cars. There are better place for motorbikes. The traffic can be pretty bad. But at the moment I drive Mercedes S Coupe 63.
Very nice.
It's blue, and what kind of creamy leather interior. Very nice car.
Brilliant, yeah, and like you say, I think it's probably almost easy to walk around Monaco at times, all the traffic. If I said to you favourite car and favourite track, what would you take?
Lancia Delta, the rally car. And sorry, what was the second part of the question?
And any track, I suppose.
Any
If it's a
track.
rally car, any course as well.
Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Oh yes, yeah, tricky track.
Yeah.
Well, there is a Delta Integrale down there, so should we see if we can borrow it?
I'm sure they'd let you borrow it. We're going on. And if I said to you, of all the cars here at Goodwood, you could take one home or take one up a hill, which would it be? Would it be the Integrale again?
I think it would have, but I think I got pretty lucky driving the 196 W196 Mercedes. It was Fangio's old car, so not an everyday car you get to drive. So it was lucky day already.
So no complaints there. Thank you so much for sitting and talking to us today. I'm sure it's been a long day for you. I hope you've had a great weekend down here in the sunshine. It's been a warm one, and thanks. Have a safe journey back, and thank you very much for talking to us.
And there we go.
Right.
My, that jump cut was seamless.
It was. It will be. It will have going to has happened to be
Yeah.
or something.
It's a shame he didn't stay longer.
He's all right, isn't he, Valtteri?
Surprisingly talkative for a Finn.
Amazing that what he said about what we said in that previous conversation wasn't that a thing?
I knew I should have played you the audio before I put it in.
Yeah. And that other thing he said about the
The
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Come on.
Crazy.
You want to listen to it anyway until it comes out now.
Yeah.
But it's already come. I'm confused.
Well, huge thanks to our friends at UK Car Talk for that.
UK Motor Talk.
UK Motor Talk, sorry.
Yeah.
Just cut that bit, will you?
No, possibly. You might get jacked. If you want to see more of what they do, go to ukmotortalk.co.uk. Really can't say enough how nice a set of guys they are.
Well, they stopped us walking about 16 miles to get to the main area.
And that was the first time we'd met them.
Yeah, and neither of us
when you went to
are what you call walkers.
Not really. But no, thanks, guys. And we will have more from Goodwood over the next couple of weeks because the Bottas interview wasn't the only one.
So listen out for that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll plug the hell out of it.
Yeah.
They have a podcast as well, and I will put the link on the Facebook page and tweet it out. So if you want to give them a listen,
Yeah.
I'll
Do so.
Do they have a
I will
Twitter?
share it. They do have a Twitter. was hoping you wouldn't ask that.
Paul is furiously searching for the Twitter.
You can find them on Twitter at UK Motor Talk.
That makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of sense going on there.
There is.
Anyone would think it was a brand.
Yeah, we're back to 3 legs, 4 wheels now. I got rid of the Lions after the World Cup finished. I thought it was quite good though, just for a week.
I thought it
was.
was good.
I actually had a good idea for this podcast just for once. It doesn't happen all that often.
And it was to do with football. Well done.
I like football.
It's all right. I know.
What have we got next? Santino Ferrucci, question mark. Yes, there is one over his future. He acted like a knob. No one knows what's going on.
I just want to repeat what Dan said, or let Dan repeat what Dan said pre-podcast.
Yeah, we talk about Formula One drivers here. He's not one. He's not going to be one.
And we're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to be proven wrong by the press release that's coming out in 20 minutes saying it's been
Signed by
signed by Mercedes
Yeah.
as their second driver.
This is gonna sound stupid. He is Italian, isn't he?
No, he's American. He's from Connecticut.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, he used I'm an Italian American as an excuse for doing what he did over the course of the weekend.
Italian American.
But it's like his
Fight
name.
for the rights of Donald Trump.
It's a good job he's not Italian because his name is so Italian. If he was Italian, it'd be almost racist.
But no, I think he is finished, and we'll never see him. We'll not see him in a Haas.
Well, it's not. I mean, it doesn't really matter either because he wasn't fucking great in GP2 anyway. So
He wasn't great in
or F2.
He wasn't
sorry.
great in GP3.
Yeah. So it's
He was okay when he took over Haas's Instagram for a race, I think about a year ago. He did some quite funny stuff, but that was it.
But it's obvious to see he's been phoning it in ever since.
Yeah.
way. I was going to turn around and say what he should have been doing is taking over Haas's Twitter feed from his car.
I think that's what he was trying to do. Talking of which, have you seen? There's one of the NASCAR drivers tweets mid-race. That's
What?
Got to be dangerous.
It's during the slowdown bits.
Texting whilst driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the slowdown bits are still quick. It's like when you think isn't like a pit straight.
Wait a second, I've just worked it out. This is how Grosjean crashes in safety cars.
No, but he's writing recipes.
Well, probably, yeah.
But like when cars go down the pit lane, they look like they're trundling down. They're still going like 50 miles an hour, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's
It looks like they're barely moving, like walking
crazy,
pace.
Well, yeah. Well, Top Gear a few years back. There's that incredibly long test track in Germany, and James May was driving the.
The Veyron.
It was the Veyron, and he'd just done a couple of full speed runs, and he was slowing down, heading towards the garage, and he thought, "I'm going to be really cool here." And as I'm crawling to a halt, I'll jump out while it's moving, and just let it pull up alongside. And he looked at the speedometer, and he was still doing 80. It's just because he'd been doing 250, it felt like he was doing about 5 miles an hour.
Yeah. He thought he was just going to jump out at 80 miles per hour. That would have been a terrible idea.
It would have been. He'd have been broken.
I think that was what was called doing a George Michael.
Get out of your car at super high speed.
He did it on a motorway.
He did. This is true. Yeah, he did try and get out of his car.
I'm sorry. History will prove me right here. That is not doing a George Michael.
That's the SFW doing a George Michael.
I'm not sure it's even that.
Right.
We've got a preview of German Grand Prix, or are we going to talk emails? that
No,
people
we're not
have
going to
sent
preview a
us?
German Grand Prix because you haven't actually written it on the running order.
No, well, we've got to preview it, haven't we? Just because I haven't written it down doesn't mean we're not going to do it.
No, I normally follow the running order. It's like, how have you missed the preview? But yeah, German Grand Prix this weekend at the ruined Hockenheimring.
Yeah.
He's still banging on about this ruined Hockenheim.
Yes. What is better?
Someone ruined its ring.
What is better, current Hockenheim or classic Hockenheim?
Do you know what? Like classic Hockenheim was good because you got to see cars go really, really, really fast. Classic Hockenheim was a bad circuit
For racing.
for racing because you couldn't do anything. You went fast and then you went into little tiny chicanes and then you went to a twisty bit where you couldn't overtake either.
I think I said this last time we had a race at Hockenheim, so it'd be, 2 years ago? 4 years ago, maybe
Some years ago.
some years ago.
Because the circuit's not bad. Like, New Hockenheim is a pretty good racing circuit.
Yeah, it's all right. But I remember watching Ralph Schumacher, and I want to say it was
I know exactly what you're going to say.
97?
Was he in
Jordan, and one of the nuts had come loose inside.
Yeah.
And he started he wasn't even looking where he was going,
No.
doing 180 miles an hour. He was held the steering wheel on the straight line and just started tightening this nut up at the side just by hand. And then when it was tight enough, looked up again, saw where he was, still about half a mile away from his braking zone.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, okay, in safety sort of.
It was cool to go there because you got to see how fast a Formula One car could go with low downforce.
Yeah.
You know, you got to see.
And there were heavy braking zones as well.
Yeah, but I'd prefer to see cars racing around like a proper track.
Look at when Hamilton had that crash in qualifying there 4 years ago, I think it was, and he had to start from the back of the grid. He did basically what we saw him do at Silverstone a couple of weeks ago, where he went through he scythed his way through the field. Not entirely sure, even with the superpower of that Mercedes, that it would have been so spectacular at Old Hockenheim, because he would have just drifted past people on the straights with the power of that Mercedes.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been
Oh, yeah.
hard braking into that hairpin.
In modern engine-ruled Formula One, classic Hockenheim would be fucking rubbish.
Yeah.
You might actually have a point
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just massively nostalgic.
Now,
Obviously-
if you could say to me that somebody ruined Nürburgring, then I'd agree with you.
What, the short circuit
Yeah.
or the long
The
circuit?
Grand Prix circuit.
Because that was remodeled, wasn't it? And it did go a bit. Yeah.
So it's also-
I think it's called the Südschleife.
It's also the worst race I've been to, worst circuit I've been to as a place to go. Like, it's sterile, you can't walk around the place, you get your own car park for your own corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's
not,
your corner and you don't move from it.
Yeah, well, you fenced in.
Yeah.
You're fenced in, and your corner has an exit.
Yeah.
So it's not. If you're gonna go to a European Grand Prix, go to a different one.
Hockenheim?
Hockenheim was good. Yeah, Hockenheim was all right. You know, I don't know where you could tell when I went that they were running out of money. I'd imagine it's probably no better now.
Mercedes have pumped money into the circuit.
Oh, have they? Oh, well, maybe some stuff might be finished. I mean, like, bearing in mind, I was at a Formula One Grand Prix, and I watched the race from a hill. There wasn't even a grandstand or anything put on, and there should have been a grandstand because it was. You know where Massa was told to let Alonso through that straight?
Yeah.
I was on the corner, like that corner before they come onto that straight. Why there isn't a grandstand there, or wasn't a grandstand, I've no fucking idea. But we had to build, like, because there was a load of like scaffold planks lying around, so we built ourselves some seating.
Am I right in remembering that Mercedes actually wanted to pay the license fee to F1 for the race last year to be held at Hockenheim?
A couple of years ago, I think it was now.
Well, the last German Grand Prix was 2 years ago, and that was at Hockenheim.
Was it too late or something?
Yeah,
like that?
it was too late after the calendar had been ratified. And again, it's looking like there won't be a 2019 German Grand Prix because Hockenheimring can only afford to host it once every 2 years.
Yeah.
And Nürburgring
It's rubbish.
and can't afford to host it. I mean, that's not hosted a race since 2013.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It just shows what happens when, like, as far as Germany's concerned, because I don't think Germany have taken to Sebastian Vettel as much as they took to Michael Schumacher.
No.
You
Or
can't.
Rosberg,
No, well,
because he's not German.
where is he from?
Well, he's working for Sky Italia at the moment when he's not working for Sky UK because he said he felt a little bit Italian.
He was French on Sunday.
No, he was supporting Croatia.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh God, I saw a picture of him with French stuff.
Oh, wow, okay. That's dangerous.
He was supporting football. But
He's
Yeah.
a citizen of the world.
yeah, it was really weird actually. I can't remember whether it was. Oh no, it must have been.
Global
Must have been
citizen
Hockenheim.
Rosberg.
When I went through the like Hockenheim merch thing, there was a good 10, 15 different Schumacher stands, and there was one solitary empty Sebastian Vettel t-shirt stand.
Empty because they'd sold out?
No, empty of people,
Oh.
full of merch.
Fair enough.
So, anyway, so for this race, what do we think is going to happen, and how?
A car's gonna win.
Oh, you know what I mean. I was waiting for that. It's going to be a good one for Mercedes.
It still uses the old stadium section, doesn't it? That the old Hockenheim had.
It's the bottom third of the old circuit,
Slightly remodeled.
slightly changed, and then where the first chicane was is now a hairpin,
Yeah.
and then that leads to the. You can't really call it a straight because it's curved, but you can't really say it's got a corner in because it's more like it's just a slight kink
As an
leading
old
up to the second hairpin.
as an old British old British motor racer would say, it's Harry Flatters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is, of course, hidden in the forest somewhere next to the old circuit, a memorial to Jim Clark, who crashed and lost his life at Hockenheim. And I'm sure we'll see over the weekend what the old circuit now looks like. And if you're fairly new to Formula One or fairly new to this podcast, then you won't. You maybe haven't seen or heard what the old Hockenheim racetrack looks like. It's basically gone back to nature.
Yeah.
It's becoming trees and forests again. You can sort of see the outline of it, but it's basically becoming forest.
There's
again.
there's a housing estate on one part of it, but the track is like a footpath through the forest.
Imagine
Yeah.
a box, and in that box, you put a Formula One circuit, and in with the Formula One circuit, you put I Am Legend.
Yes,
that's-
basically.
That's what
Yeah.
you got.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's sad a little bit because I can remember cars caning it down there in the 90s.
It was
but-
an impressive sight,
Yeah.
but I haven't got like. For instance, if Spa was to disappear or they were to like smash that around, I'd be more upset about that.
Yeah.
you know. So
Sorry, was I meant to do some talking then?
you can
No,
do
it's
if you
just-
want to.
I was trying not to choke. I reckon it's going to be a decent circuit for Mercedes.
I mean, yeah.
because it's German or
No, just because of the layout of it, with one decent straight and one fast-ish straight leading to the start of the stadium section.
A couple of reasonable straights and a twisty bit.
A very twisty bit.
Sounds a bit like Silverstone. Ferrari were pretty good at Silverstone.
yeah. Remodeling of Silverstone was done better than the remodeling of Hockenheim, I would argue.
Oh God, yeah. I'm not talking quality of circuits. I'm just talking. Yeah, I don't see any reason to think that Mercedes will go there with a massive advantage over Ferrari.
Don't think any team's going anywhere with a massive advantage over anyone at the moment.
Although who was in charge of the remodelling of Hockenheim?
Herman Tilke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was he not in charge of the remodeling at Silverstone?
I don't know if he was.
But the
Then again, it was Bernie that insisted on it, so probably.
I thought the only circuit that he hadn't got his nasty little grubby paws on was
Monaco.
yeah, but yes, no, like a new circuit was Austin.
I think
No,
that
that
was
is a
that
no,
is
Austin,
Tilke
that-
circuit.
Is that a Tilke circuit?
Yeah, that's a tribute. That's the one he's got right. That's a tribute to all the best bits that he's got on other circuits, and they've
Fucking
actually
hell.
managed to get all the good bits together.
Oh right, no, I thought they got somebody else in for that. Oh well, you could do that again.
Turkey was a good circuit. Turkish Grand Prix, which was short-lived.
Was a good circuit.
I quite enjoyed the Turkish Grand Prix. I liked playing that on Formula One 2010. It was a good circuit to play on that. But yeah, the remodeling of Hockenheim was done an awful lot tighter than Silverstone was done. Anybody over the age of about 30 might remember the old German touring car circuit that they used to run at Hockenheim. It's not too dissimilar to that. I mean, it's been this Hockenheim now for about, what, 8 years? 10 years, maybe?
Longer.
Longer.
I think it
The
was.
first Formula One race at this Hockenheim. Still new Hockenheim, though, isn't it?
2002.
What?
Wow.
Was the first race at New Hockenheim?
Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's surprising.
And the lap record stood since 2004.
Michael Schumacher?
Kimi Räikkönen.
Kimi Räikkönen, ladies and gentlemen.
And Herman Tilke didn't do Silverstone.
Oh, did you not?
No. Don't know who did it, but
It must be a mistake. Tilke turned up with like some comedy glasses and a moustache on.
I'm his evil twin.
Yeah.
German Hilke.
You are
I'm also a
terminated.
master of disguise.
Yeah, but the I don't think I don't think the circuit particularly favours anybody. I mean, sectors in particular might, first, second sector might favour Mercedes, Ferrari, but I think that the final sector is going to favour Red Bull.
Yeah.
The twisty part of it. Whether or not Red Bull will be brave enough to set their car up for,
I think it's too short to make a massive difference, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's going to be difficult, sort of, kind of just before the stadium section, all the way up to turn 1. Is kind of Red Bull territory.
They might be good up to like turn 2, would it be?
Yeah, but they might lose it from turn 2, that curved straight where the DRS zone's probably going to be.
But
And
they love your high speed corners, and turn 1 is pretty high speed.
it is in the remodel. They actually flattened out turn 1 a bit, so you can take it a lot quicker.
And of course, it's going to be 3 DRS zones again. And I think we're going to get another corner under DRS. So
3 DRS zones.
Yeah.
So the start finish straight from turn 2 to 3, and then what after turn 3?
After the
Hairpin.
after the chicane, I think, on the run into the stadium section.
Where do we stand
really?
here? Where do we stand on this now? If we're going to start having like 3 DRS zones, and then next year some circuit will decide it's having 4 DRS zones.
Well, no, it is actually Charlie Whiting and the FIA
Yeah.
technical group that decide where it's going.
But
to.
are we not getting towards the point? Getting towards the point where we just say, well, DRS is just a tool that the drivers can use through the race. They used to do it
Like
in
they used to,
qualifying.
yeah.
Apparently, that's not what the FIA want,
Oh,
which is why in qualifying and practice they can only use DRS in the DRS zones. Because before it just used to be, if you want to use it, you use it.
Yeah, because I always thought to myself, like, I wonder what'll happen to cars, and will it bring back that can you go through a Rouge flat? At some point with can you go through a Rouge with the DRS open?
I think if it's there, it should be used. So if you've got DRS and
I
you
think
can
so,
use it
yeah.
all that round, then do it. I mean, having the zones is it's like when I've seen less of it now, but like action zone, like
I'm glad they got rid of the way they used to use KERS. Where you had like one
lap.
charge for a lap, and you could use
Yeah.
it at certain points. So
but then it magically discharged at the end of the lap, regardless of whether or not you used it.
yeah. So yeah, I like.
Apparently there isn't a corner under DRS this time.
Was there not?
No, I got my info wrong. It's the pit straight between turns 1 and 2, and then coming on the back straight earlier off turn 4.
The little is that after the hairpin, the little straight. Yeah, it will be the hairpin's turn 4.
Happens turn 3, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, hairpins turn 3.
So is it that little straight and
No, it's turns 1 and 2.
yeah.
The second zone on the back straight, which is after the first mini hairpin
Yeah.
along the top back straight. And then this really doesn't make it clear. And then after the hairpin as well.
Right, yeah.
So effectively that's about
Half the
half
lap.
the lap.
Yeah.
Which is what we were saying about Silverstone, weren't
How
we?
many
that it would be-
detection points did it say that?
2.
2.
Yeah.
So you're getting a double dose on one of them.
Yeah. Move into position to pass in the first one and then pass in the second.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a circuit that suits one car or one style of car over another. To be honest with you, it's all going to be down to setup and drivers. I think for the
Yeah.
for the whole weekend.
Oh, this is something to think about as well. Vettel's never been particularly good around Hockenheim, has he? I think he's only won around there once, even through the Red Bull dominant period, because
Right.
he got pretty fucking excited when he did win it, the once. So that might be something to look at.
Yeah, boogie circuit for him. One of his home Grand Prix.
I only know that because they said on the BBC podcast they would talk about how lucky Lewis is that his home Grand Prix happens to be one of the best.
Vettel's never won there.
Oh, has he never won there?
No, he won the 2013 race at Nürburgring.
Right. So Hockenheim is a bogey track for him.
The last races at Hockenheim, Lewis won 2 years ago. Rosberg won 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the two before that in 2010 and 2012 were both Alonso.
Yeah, when you think about what that Red Bull was like at one point, it's amazing he never managed to win one of those years.
Yeah. Though I suppose there were 4 years of Red Bull dominance and only two Hockenheim races.
Two Hockenheim races. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose for me, I'm going to go with that. Are we going to give our?
I was going to say further down the grid, I
this
think
is-
probably Sauber will be looking quite good with that Ferrari lump in the back. I think this is going to be a circuit that's probably quite strong for them.
Yeah.
I think maybe
Haas.
same
Has to
same
be
for
strong.
Haas as well. I think
I'd say same for K-Mag.
maybe not. For
Yeah,
Haas.
you're probably right.
A lot of fast twisty bits for
Yeah,
Grosjean.
you're probably right. I think the
Lots of curbs in the stadium section for him to get up on and get wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of gravel after him and then a wall.
yeah. Yeah, there's
Not one to disagree with, really, is
there's nothing else to say about it. You're probably right. I'm as shocked as you are right now.
I think Toro Rosso will struggle with that Honda lump. You know, it's another power circuit. They were fairly down at Silverstone.
I don't know. I mean, what
I
more
say it's
bad
a
luck?
power circuit. It's not really.
Yeah, what more bad luck can Brendan Hartley have?
A dinosaur will resurrect itself and stamp on his car.
I do like dinosaurs. I do, and I reckon you get pretty long odds on that too. I like dinosaurs, and I like a gamble.
Bet responsibly, everyone.
I reckon with Toro Rosso being as Red Bull as they are, and they always tend to get a flavour of the local culture, they will set up a Bratwurst stand in the garage, and one will accidentally one will accidentally find its way into his engine.
Yeah,
And then they'll have to do a complete power unit replacement between FP3 and qualifying.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's the
Given
worst
that.
possible thing that could happen.
Oh, yes, Dan. Brilliant. You are the worst.
So it's all right when it goes badly wrong for him next week. We've already got a title for next week's podcast. Then
Curry on.
Whee!
right, let's have some top threes. I've got Sean's here in front of me.
What's Sean gone for?
She is going for a Hamilton win, Vettel second, Raikkonen third.
Ooh.
I should be taking notes here.
You should be.
You should.
Putting these in your prediction spreadsheet.
It's Notepad. I don't use a spreadsheet.
Yes, you do. Excel all the way.
How can you sort them then?
Excel or nothing,
I put them onto the website and
which is powered by Excel.
WordPress.
Yes.
So Hamilton, Vettel, and Raikkonen. Okay, who's going next?
I'll have a go.
Go on, Dan. Go before me this time.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a curveball result. Danny Rick first.
Ooh.
Controversial.
Vettel second, Hamilton third.
Okay.
I think Hamilton's under the cosh a little bit. Starting to feel it from Ferrari and he's still a bit bitter about that British Grand Prix, not getting the 5 in a row, 6 in total. So it's going to go one of two ways. He's either going to be like a bullet and no one will get near him all weekend, such as the wounded fox, or it's Hamilton constantly making little mistakes and will end up qualifying 5th and 6th and have quite an average race. And I don't know which way to go with it. So I'll say Verstappen to win,
Okay.
Vettel second,
Ooh.
Raikkonen third.
Ooh. So you're definitely going that way. Lee?
I kind of go on the opposite of Flood.
You think Hamilton's going to be the bullet?
There's only one issue I've got with this is I think I can't remember whether it's 2008 or not. Remember when he kept crashing into Massa? Now,
Yeah.
Do you think he's now crashing into Raikkonen?
yeah, but one of the big problems he had was I think it was that year. I know this has happened to him
2009,
a
yeah.
year where he couldn't get on with the start system, and it really got in his head. And I wonder whether
Which would have been 2016.
was it 2016? Was
Yeah.
it? Oh yeah, it was when Rosberg won the championship.
Yeah.
I worry whether that bad start he had at Silverstone will play on his mind, and that could be a big thing, especially because the Ferraris are so good off the line.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he got a terrible start, but it was shown up so much by the Ferraris.
And Bottas got a
Pace.
much better start than
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
Ferrari, as you say, Ferrari are so fast off the
Yeah.
line. Their launch control is incredible.
It's to be perfectly honest, it's something that I know with doing things. I should really give me guesses, but it's something you'd expect teams would develop more. It should be a bigger point because it's such an advantage.
Yeah.
It is,
You know, if you can qualify third on the grid, and you know that as long as you don't get blocked, your car can be first into turn one. That's huge.
yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, especially somewhere like Monza,
Yeah.
where the start-finish straight is that wide with all the extra area. off the track as well that you can
absolutely,
use.
yeah.
I mean, you could even say qualifying fourth gives you a chance of leading into the first corner.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I think Lewis is going to win, though. I think we're going to have Lewis win. I think the contract talks are going to affect Bottas, so I don't think he's going to be on the podium. Daniel Ricciardo second, Kimi third.
Okay, and I am going for a Lewis win because he is going to come back and want to get a win this time. Verstappen second without shenanigans. I think he may well be quick.
On pace.
And I'm going for Bottas third, plainly and simply because he will stand a chance of getting second, but I just think he'll wreck his tyres.
Maybe. Yeah. Do a repeat of Silverstone.
Similar to
Mm.
Silverstone.
Heroes and villains.
Wow, that's a good one.
Not allowed to say Grosjean as a villain because that's too predictable. Not allowed to say Brendan Hartley's bad luck.
Worst race of the year for Williams. I reckon. I
Oh
think they're
God,
gonna
can
be
it get
awful.
can it get
Yeah,
much worse?
Yeah, I think it can. That's not a bad shout.
Heroes.
Sauber. Go for Sauber.
I think you might have a point with Sauber actually, because let's just this will show how much they've progressed since.
K-Mag fourth.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, since the last race 2 years ago, Sauber were Ericsson in 18th, 2 laps down, and Nasser retired with 9 laps to go.
Do they not come together that year at Hockenheim at the hairpin? That was the year of Nasser and Ericsson crashing into each other quite a bit.
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh, where they hated each other and they both got made to do the public apologies and be on the naughty step after Monaco,
Yeah.
which really didn't work because they were still scrapping with each other.
I think they may have hit each other at the hairpin that year, those two Saubers.
Yeah, you might be right. I'm gonna have to look that one up. But yeah, I think Sauber are definitely going to be troubling the points this time, just because the massive steps forward that they've made.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, they've got an up-to-date engine 2 years ago. The whole package was wrong. But that team has just rebuilt itself from the ground up.
With the help from Helping Hand from Ferrari, let's not forget.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
but Fred Vasseur was in before this happened, so let's not take too much away from Fred. I'm going to go for Sauber as my heroes, but villains is a difficult one.
If we see another Ferrari-Mercedes clash,
Whoever speaks first.
whoever speaks first will be the villain. Because it could be from they're doing it in revenge to see it always happens, it was deliberate, we should never have said it wasn't last time out.
Or it'll be a passive-aggressive Lewis Hamilton going, I'm not saying anything, man. I'm not saying anything, man, to the press.
I think what happened spoke for itself.
Yeah. You saw what happened with your own eyes. I mean, I don't have to say anything. Yeah, that kind of. There you go. So my villain is going to be whoever is passive aggressive.
Do you want to send him that press release?
Just
so
send
he's got
to
it
him
ready.
now. Yeah, let me just find him on Instagram. Probably online.
Yeah, you saw what happened. Arsene Wenger sat there going, no.
Yeah.
Oh, we get to another football reference.
We
That's 3 this year.
Wow.
Arsene Wenger
I'm
got-
basically a fan. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to bottle somebody next. I think that's the next stage of being a football fan, isn't it?
You did that when you hated football.
That's true.
Arsene Wenger got through 22 years of being Arsenal manager by basically doing a Cyril Abitable. Well, we play football, and I think we played the football very well with the football. Yeah, that's basically his 22 years encompassing.
Yeah, but anything
2
controversial? I did not see the incident
Yeah,
in question.
yeah.
Right. We'd normally move on to Total Shunt, but I want to talk about an email that we've got tonight, just before we started recording. Touching on something we were talking about last week about Williams. Not a comment about you talk about Alonso too much. It's great, this. Our new Alonso free zone.
who's touching on my Williams?
This is from Matt Steele. We were talking last week.
Such a good name.
but
Such a good name.
Such a good name, and also such a good, insightful email as well.
I mean, I'm sorry about this, Dan, but he does sound more of a secret agent than you.
I hope
Yes.
I hope when it comes to his last day on the job at whatever precinct he works for, I hope he gets through that day. Without losing his partner or his family.
And he gets to relax on that boat that he's just bought.
You've all seen Sin City, right?
What, the USS Live Forever.
Anyway,
Moving on to what Matt said. We're talking last week about Williams and the correlation problems. And is it the simulator setup? Is it the drivers?
Does he just want them to get the job done? And maybe he needs them to break a few rules.
is he getting too old for this? Anyway,
Lee, you are a full weapon.
I know.
Right, basically, what he's saying is it could be one and the same. That's the problem.
Drivers and correlation.
Drivers and correlation. What he says is, you guys mentioned you thought Williams had a simulation reality correlation problem rather than a driver problem.
In reality, they definitely have a problem.
Yeah, I suggest they are both one and the same. You need drivers to bring seat of pants understanding to the maths to make sure they line up, because sometimes the right math is just wrong in real life. As evidence.
So right math on paper can be wrong
Yeah.
in real life.
And he goes on to show an example, showing his working and everything.
His work, literally, his
Yeah.
working.
So he gets an extra point for showing his work when it comes to the right math.
God damn it, Paul. Just let the man get on with his job.
He says, I'm a time trial road racer and kart racer in Southern California.
traveller.
Time
trial.
Oh, right.
Trial like what it is dealing with you every bloody week.
Start that sentence again.
Yeah. I'm a time trial road racer and kart racer in Southern California. I was also a tyre consultant on Project Cars 2.
Ooh.
This is where you get interested. My job was to do a lot of the nitty-gritty intermediate tyre testing with the physics engineers as they prepared more polished versions to give to their much more important paid name testers for feedback. People like Tommy Milner, Le Mans GT Pro Champion, Mitchell de Jong, Red Bull GRC driver, and World Champion iRacing driver, and Ben Collins, better known to most people as the Stig.
The white stick from Top Gear. Yes.
Original stick.
No,
No.
the original stick was black.
The original Stig was Perry McCarthy in the black overalls. The first series that nobody watched.
Top Gear.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
you didn't watch it.
I used to watch Top Gear when Tiff Nadell was on it.
Yeah, but the most well known white stick was Ben Collins.
Yeah.
Right.
Project Cars 2 actually has one of the most advanced tyre physics models ever for non-commercial use. It's based on something called finite element physics, which uses realistically modelled carcass stress and deformation to derive contact patch size and shape, temperature, and as a result, grip coefficient.
So basically, it measures how quickly the tire would degrade under certain loads when the car's sliding sideways, under sideways pressure, and also under the downwards pressure of the weight of the car.
Yeah, and the state of the tarmac.
Yeah.
So Tommy Miller and Ben Collins began to complain about a lack of turning grip, which they referred to as bite. The main tyre engineer was confused because according to the math, based on... I'm going to have to say maths. I'm sorry, I can't say math. Because according to the maths, based on all the research, it should be correct. I took this feedback and kept it in mind during my next day at the real-life track, and I noticed how the tyres and car behaved the instant of turning. I relayed my observations to the tyre guy, and he said, that just makes no sense mathematically. I replied, maybe so, but it's what the car does.
Which is the example we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the car not doing what the maths says should happen.
Yeah. So he went back and glued in some fake grip for me to try out so he could build a grip curve to match with the physics. And it indeed felt right. He was even more confused, but decided to go take the data and figure out how to derive it from simulation. And it worked. He realised that it was filtering out something that appeared to be an error in the maths. Once they put it back in, the grip coming out of the sim matched what I'd described. Tommy and Ben gave it a try and agreed that it felt spot on. The final maths didn't make any sense to what the tyre guy had researched, but he left the error in for the game. Later, he was at Pirelli and mentioned the situation to their engineers, who showed him some of their testing graphs, and sure enough, the anomaly in the grip chart was there, from real-life testing. Something to do with the deflection of the tyre carcass on the rim, or whatever.
Wow.
Point
So
is...
that's the tyre pushing on the wheel.
Yeah. Point is, the maths was right, just not completely right, and that missed a critical part to the performance of the car. It took an experienced butt in the seat to explain the delta between what was being simulated and what was real. His correlation problem was solved by an experienced driver.
There you
Yep.
go. It's an experienced driver that can tell you what the car is actually doing and argue with the maths if the sums don't match up.
Yeah.
I'd also the only thing I'd like to point out there is that it sounds like what he was doing, he got much more time to test than a Formula One team actually
Yeah,
gets.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, they'll be getting
That's-
data throughout the race as well, and they'll know.
Yeah, but
Williams will know where their problems are. They just might not know how or why why they need fixing or how to fix them.
I mean, I don't see again. He's obviously much more qualified to talk about this than I am, but that seems to me make total sense when talking about tires. But
But
just
when you're talking about
error stalling, like I don't. Apart from just saying I went round the corner and the fucking car lost all grip.
Or is it down to, I mean, looking at sort of holistic approach on this, is it down to the entire car behaviour? Because if the simulator is doing one thing,
But it's just a
the
mathematics.
car's that finely balanced, it doesn't happen in real life. That throws the balance of the car off, and
Yeah.
that's where the aerostall comes from. Because 1 degree out could change the whole airflow over the car, and there
no
goes your
fucking
grip.
idea. If I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't be a pain in the
The
decorator.
long and short of it, and the bottom line is that there's a mathematical error in Matt's example that he's given us, and it's very possible. I'm not saying that this is exactly what's happening, but it's very possible that there's a mathematical error in the correlation that the drivers cannot pick up on, and that's what I think Matt's alluding to.
Yeah.
But if a more experienced driver could solve the problem at this stage of the season, wouldn't you say, screw the contracts, we need to solve this and then get one of the pay drivers back in once it's fixed? Wouldn't that make everyone look
Well,
better?
they've got quite an experienced driver who knows about sliding around on tyres, having done a lot of rally
but
driving.
He's not an experienced Formula One driver.
He,
Not
said,
now.
he says he feels like a rookie again because F1 now is that different to what F1 was in 2011.
Yeah.
It's
But he'll be
fucking-
able to give feedback as to how the car's behaving, much more so than somebody who's in their second year and somebody who's a rookie in Formula One.
I think Williams made a fucking massive mistake with Kubica. I think they'd have been much better positioned to know what they're doing if they kept
Kept
Di
Di
Resta
Resta
on, because although he's not got race race experience in a Formula One car. Since he left Formula One, he's been a test driver for Mercedes as well. I think he did simulator work for Mercedes. So he's been involved in the evolution of Formula One cars. I think Kubica was brought in for like some sort of goodwill PR gesture.
Goodwill PR jester.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit. When you look at some of the drivers that want to get into Formula One, I'm sorry, it's a bit of a fucking joke. So.
Shall we total shunt?
Yes.
Let's do that.
But anyway, thank you, Matt, for sending that mail. That is.
Thank you, Matt, for that. Much explaining's going on.
Very interesting insight.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to shoot us through, if you're still doing stuff like that with the people that make Project Cars, and you want to off the record shoot us through what if there's anything going on with Project Cars 3, let us know.
I will put a transcript of that mail up on the website. Because I think that
If Matt's okay with it.
if Matt doesn't mind, get in touch. Let us know. And if anybody else wants to get in touch with any other info by email, it's 3legs4wheels@gmail.com.
Yeah, and please feel free to set us right if we need setting right on anything. Such
Do it
as
at your
that.
own risk.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Do it at your own risk? It's me that filters everything out.
No, but if they try and correct me and tell me I'm wrong, all that's going to do is make them wrong.
Total shunt time.
I was just going to say, why do you don't want to see the ones you don't see? That's all. That's all I'm saying.
I genuinely don't care.
Total shunt time.
Right.
Total shunt time. Total shunt time.
Nice intro.
Worst jingle ever. Who's it from?
It's from Dan Thompson.
And going on the last 2 weeks, when's it from?
It is from November 2017.
Thanks for sending it in like 8 months ago, Dan.
Yeah, keep listening. Keep listening. I'll get through them.
Oh yeah.
I've started from the bottom again now, working up.
Start from the bottom. Now you're here.
Yeah, I might work from the top next week. I am best known
For being born in?
no
Oh.
for the 1966 F1 season.
I'm best known for the 1966 F1 season. All right. Okay.
I'm a 2-time world champion.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in F3 cars.
Looking at someone like
Jackie Stewart?
Jim
He was
Clark.
3-time world champion. Jim Clark, possibly.
Was he? Did he only win it once though?
I can't remember. I'm really good with them when I've got the years in front of me. I'm trying to remember who was 66 champion.
But as you know, that gets you kicked out for cheating in a one race.
Yeah, no.
Shit, we need a guess on this one, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Should we go for Jim Clark as a first?
Yeah, why not, Jim Clark?
I was involved in the early development of in-car cameras.
Okay.
Now then. Grand Prix the movie, which is from round about the late
Round
60s.
about 66,
Yeah. They used just about every available camera that would go in the car and film and be stabilised. I think all 4 onboard cameras they had were the only 4 in the world that could do it.
Lee, are you GoPro?
So I wonder if it's something to do with that.
Did they not film that on the Lotuses at the time?
Yes, and they gave them paint jobs to look like other cars as well.
Was it Peter Collins driving a Lotus at that time?
I think it might have been. I'm thinking it could even possibly be Grand Prix the movie.
It could be.
Would that be a 2-time world champion? And
Could have
well
won.
known for its Formula 3 performance.
Probably not. No, good
with
point.
the Formula 3 cars on the grid made to look like Formula 1 cars.
Anyway,
We'll move on.
I am widely known for races at circuits Monaco, Spa-Francorchamps, Zandvoort. Is it Zandvoort?
Zandvoort.
Yeah.
Where the European F3 was this week.
Brands Hatch and Monza.
Which were all featured in
Grand Prix,
Grand
the
Prix
movie.
the movie.
One more clue, is it? One more thing before
One
we
more.
got to give a guess?
While married, I had a public affair with an American writer.
A film cannot get married.
Right, well, what was James Garner's character?
a fact.
I can't remember his bloody name. It's been a while since I've watched that.
I have never watched it.
I've got it, and it's that long. It goes on 2 discs, and it's actually a print from the original 120-degree Cinerama cut as well. So it's in mega widescreen, so it's only about 2 inches tall on a 49-inch TV.
Are you ready for the next clue?
I thought we had to give you
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, give me a
Yeah.
guess.
and I can't remember the name of the character, but I'm going to say James Garner's character from Grand Prix.
I'm going to need to know the name of the character.
Not Jim Rockford.
Yeah, I can't.
I've
help.
never seen it. You say I've never seen. Oh, hang on, I can check. That keeps you away from the.
Keeps me away from the internet.
from the
I've just got. Somebody just want to verify this. I've just got Matt's email.
Which
in
which
front of me.
character is it?
The one played by James Garner.
Uh,
This makes for thrilling audio, doesn't
It
it?
really doesn't.
Phil.
Phil.
Phil should be googling at the minute.
What?
What?
Phil, as in talk.
Ah,
Say
oh,
Is
right.
it Grand Prix? Grand
Yeah.
Prix.
Yeah,
Grand Prix the movie.
I think it was just called Grand Prix.
Was it called Grand Prix? I thought it was called Grand Prix the movie.
I'll have to check the DVD when I get home. When I re-edit this to make us sound good.
You're going to remove the silences.
Of course I'm not.
Ah,
Might just put some ambient noise in the background. I'll tell you what, I'll get some of the
Put
noise.
some suspense music in the back of Total Shot. That would work really well.
Oh, what I was going to do was I
Dum-dum.
was going to get the
Dum-dum.
ambient outdoors noise from earlier when we were doing the Patreon when the stock car racing was going on.
Where the fuck is James Garner? Was he like one of the lead characters?
Yeah.
Dum dum, dum dum,
He's not even at the top.
dum dum, dum
Oh
dum.
fuck it! Right, we'll go with that. We'll
yeah,
have to.
okay.
Yeah, mind you, you'll be able to tell me whether it's right or wrong when we get to it.
When we get it wrong, and I'll kick ourselves.
Yeah. I have raced alongside Jack Brabham, Phil Hill, Graham Hill, and Bob Durnbot.
Robert Doorknobs.
Yeah.
I wonder if it could be Peter Collins.
He was a fairly quiet, unassuming character, wasn't he? But managed to. I think he might have been a bit earlier than the Lotus dominating period. You know, I don't know if Peter Collins was slightly earlier than that. I think Peter Collins.
he's
was
not
late-
ruled out, is he?
I think Collins was late 50s, early 60s, rather than mid 60s.
Where's he from? Is he British?
Yeah.
You say he's not ruled out. I am French.
Pierre Collins, his evil French twin.
Pierre Collin.
So, not Peter Collins, not Jim Clark.
I'm not an American.
And probably not a film.
We're narrowing it down here.
Could you imagine a French film on motorsport? The cars, they go fast. They're pointless.
That's Cyril Abiteboul's
Yeah.
film.
I'm just going to go back to something that was said in the message that was sent to me. Given I can't say all of this, but given some of the Who's a Talk Shunt we've just had, I thought this one might pass. Likely very easy for the boys.
Is it going to be something like Michelin?
We've had the Michelin Man before, haven't we?
We've had the Michelin Man.
Michelin won more than 2 world titles.
Yeah,
Are you ready for number 9?
I think we are.
I was killed in a spectacular crash the same day my wife told me she would never give me a divorce.
This sounds like it should be really, really easy.
That's like proper death till you do us part.
Yeah.
I hate you that much. I'm going to crash now because we can't get divorced.
Yeah, can't get divorced. Well, ball of flames it is then, boys. Francois Sever, but he wasn't. He was killed in
I
'73.
was going to say he was a lot later.
Yeah, and he was young as well. That was the tragic thing about. Well, it's tragic when anybody dies in a racing accident, but you know, especially tragic that Francois Sever was so young.
This is one of these where the more clues you get, the less you know.
Oops. Sorry, that couple was a lot closer than I thought it was.
Chris has just grudge on the wall.
I have. It was Ericsson.
Well, what's happened is I already moved it round, and now we've been VR'd a little bit further to the window. I was racing a Ferrari when I was killed.
I can hear everyone shouting.
I can't.
I can't hear what they're shouting.
No. If you can hear everyone shouting, you need to go back to the doctors.
I can hear Sean Kelly giving us extra clues that don't help because we don't know who it is.
Yeah, I was the last
And
person.
this isn't live.
I was the last person to qualify third at Monza wearing a string vest.
Come on.
Is there a Spaffer clue?
There is a Spaffer clue.
Can we have it?
No,
do we
it's-
do we want it?
Not until you give me your 10th answer.
we don't want it, but we need it.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Some of my competitors have gone on to have successful acting careers.
Is there a
That
French
does go
driver
back
in
to-
Grand Prix?
Grand Prix the movie.
I can't help with that because I haven't got a fucking clue who the character was. So I'm not trying to purposely mislead you. I simply don't know.
I thought it's going to be. I'm pretty sure it's somebody out of Grand Prix, somebody that was something to do with Grand Prix the movie. Yeah, which is a great watch.
Is James Garner's character French?
No,
Does he die?
no,
Was he driving a Ferrari?
I think it was driving a Lotus.
Right.
Was it disguised to look like a Ferrari?
I think it was disguised to look like a team that doesn't exist.
Did he get divorced?
He ended up as a TV reporter.
Right.
Similar. I think we're going to have to say we're beaten, aren't we?
Yep.
I am Jean-Pierre Strati. Strati.
We're all frantically
I
Googling.
just shook my head because I don't know about Jean-Pierre Strati.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Jean-Pierre Strati off Grand Prix the movie.
Played by Yves Montand. I had the right film, I just had the wrong character.
You right, Montard. Moving on.
Formula Lee.
Jean-Pierre Sarti, a Frenchman who has been world champion twice. He's nearing the end of his career and feeling increasingly cynical about racing itself. I'm claiming that as a moral only lost by one girl.
No, because there's lots of people in films.
I narrowed it down to the right film.
Yeah, but there's lots of people in films.
I'd say we were close.
I think we were close. Bearing in mind, on the cast list, he only comes 2 below James Garner.
Close,
And he's at the top.
but no cheese.
No.
Damn it all. Right, Formula Lee. As we said last week, there is no Hockenheim on F1 2017, so
It's Sepang.
it's Sepang, and it's a
96 Williams.
96 Williams in the dry. I'm glad you remembered. You still have another week to get your times in.
That's him dying in his Ferrari.
Oh, is it? Google image search.
Yeah, I've got it on DVD. It's a really good film. But yeah, you've got until Monday the 23rd to get your times into us. You can email them 3legsporwheels@gmail.com. You can send a direct message on Twitter at 3legsporwheels or direct message on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/3legsporwheels and you will find us there. If you want to get in touch with us,
Please do.
please do for anything whatsoever. If you want to give Lee some harassment, you can tweet him directly at
At a total shunt.
I'm at Flood21.
I'm at Dan Dankleton.
and I'm at Pablo100. Just want to say thanks again to UK Motor Talk for providing us with the Goodwood coverage, and you'll be getting to hear more of that over the next couple of weeks. Just want to say as well, there is the extra show that you can listen to on Patreon. You can get that by donating anything from $1 a month upwards. All the money that comes in through that pays for everything putting the show together.
And running costs.
And our ongoing running costs. Huge thanks as always to Cloud Above
Yep, thanks, guys.
for
Much
doing,
appreciated.
for doing some hosting. And just want to do a quick roll of honour for a couple of new patrons who have started donating and a couple of who have actually increased their pledges. So
Oh,
just
wonderful.
Want to say thank you to the new patrons. It's quite easy this week. They're both called Michael. Michael Gregor and Michael Anderson. Welcome along.
Thank you,
And
Michael.
James and Kieran, who've both increased their pledges as well.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
So, top work.
Is one of those the guy that had already increased his pledge?
No, that was Andy.
That was Andy that increased it last time.
Last 2 times.
Yeah. But want to thank all our patrons, and we couldn't really do this without you all.
We couldn't at all. So thank you so
well,
much.
we could, but we actually wouldn't be able to afford to do things
I
like
think
eat.
I think the patrons should really follow the example of these people that are up in their pledges. Like,
Don't
it's-
forget that for $20 or more a month gets you to Skype in the show.
which we're going to start doing in the summer break.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah, we are going to have patrons as guests on the show.
Yeah.
Some of it may need creative editing and arranging depending on time differences, because I know we've got patrons.
Don't need to talk about
worldwide.
Formula One. Ring in with your problems. I can have like an agony aunt section.
Oh, no.
Oh God,
I can fix people.
Oh, no.
that's what Chris Martin out of Coldplay said, and people want to punch him in the face.
They do. They do. But he always wears colourful clothes, and I do quite like that.
Yeah, but he writes his shopping list on the back of his hand.
He does write his shopping list, and he's well.
It's all to do with fair trade or something.
But he shops at the co-op.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, he's there playing piano, looks at his hand. Damn, forgot to get the fair trade coffee.
Yeah. And fair trade chocolate.
Oh, yeah, not forgetting the fair trade chocolate. That's about it for this week, really, isn't it?
I think so.
It is. I'm looking forward to the German Grand Prix, though.
It's going to be a fun one. We'll be live blogging it as per usual. I will be doing qualifying on Saturday, and Chris and Danny, are you joining me for the race on Sunday?
I think so. I believe so.
Good. We'll get the biscuits in.
I will be about on Twitter if anybody wants
I was
to
going to
talk.
say you'll be socialising medially.
Yeah.
So join us for that over at threelegs4wheels.com.
Please do.
We will see you next week.
We will indeed.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Arrivederci.